Hey, welcome back. All right, so in the last tutorial, we made our moving platform and added the spline to it and did a short little blueprint and got everything so that it moves. And in the end, I grabbed that blueprint and I put it in the scene. We moved the spline so that the platform would go up and down. Just kind of a real quick check to make sure that it was working. And then I also grabbed another one out and I put it, I lifted it up off the ground and set it up so that it would go horizontal. In this tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with the blueprint and make it so that the platform will rotate in the correct direction as it's moving around a corner. And we're also going to talk a little bit more about splines and how to properly set the spline up so that some funky stuff that might happen won't happen, or if it does, you'll know how to fix it. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so here's where we left off, and I deleted that other platform. And basically, if I hit play, this will go up and down and do what it's supposed to do. So what I want to do is I'm going to grab out another platform, and I'm going to lift it up just a little bit. It doesn't have to be too far, it's just as a demo. And then I'm going to rotate it along the z-axis at 90 degrees so that it flips around that direction. Now, one of the things about the spline is with the spline selected, so over here I can select the spline. If we take a look at it, we see that when it's selected, it gives us this information down here and the direction that it's rotated and moving in, right? And that's that first spline point. I could also select the second spline point, so I can select them all right here, and it tells me that there's multiple locations because of the X, along the X direction here. But what I want to do is I want to grab the end one. So what I could do is I could select that and select the end one. Right now I only have 2 points on here, these 2 points. And this end point is located 100 units away from this one here. So this one, the center point is 0, 0, 0. This one is 100 units, and then everything else is the same. It's rotated at 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to actually physically select it so my little gizmo moves to it. And I'm going to drag it out. One of the things I want to point out before I do that, though, is I want to try to make sure I have as minimum amount of spline points along my moving platform spline as I need. Okay, it doesn't mean don't put additional ones in. It just means don't get crazy with them and put 100 in if you can get away with like 2 or 3, especially with the vertical ones. So the vertical ones, because they're pretty much just going to go in one direction up and down, unless of course you are going to add some curves to it, just like we could do with the horizontal. If they're just going to go up and down, just use a beginning point and an end point and drag this one out as far as you need it to go. It'll move much smoother if you do that, because the spline points can cause the movement to kind of hiccup a little bit and kind of act a little funky. And you'll see that as we move along here. All right, so with this one though, because I do want it to curve around out here, I am going to add more than just the beginning and the end point. I'm going to drag this out for a little ways, give myself a good start. And then in order to add an additional one, I'm going to hold the Alt button, the ALT button on my keyboard, and I'm going to click and drag it, and that gives me another spline point, leaves that original one right there. Now I am going to start to do a curve here. I'm going to push it this way just a little bit. And then I'm going to hold the Alt button and drag it again. And this one I'm going to curve just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go in the X direction. So I'm going to hold the Alt button and go this way. And it's going to do some kind of funny stuff. As the longer I pull it, you see it kind of gives me this S curve here. So I'm going to get this set up first before I do anything else. Now, again, I've got it moving along straight, and I want it to curve around this point right here. But these 2 points aren't really kind of equal. So I'm going to grab this point here, and I'm going to drag it back this way a little bit and kind of out a little bit. Now, one of the things, obviously, I don't want it to go left to do a right turn. So I want to kind of get things to get straightened out just a little bit first before I go too far with this one. We can kind of play around until we get it just about right. But again, I'm getting to that point where I'm about to turn left to turn right. I don't want to do that. So another thing I could do is once I get these kind of situated where I want them, and I think maybe I need to go further with this one. There we go. That straightens out a lot better. Okay. One of the things I can do to kind of get rid of this little S curve here is I could obviously kind of drag it a little bit if I wanted to, but I can also select the ends of the point and it allows me to adjust the curves. I can kind of smooth them out the way I want them to. And of course, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you kind of get the idea, right? And then I can drag this out, and it's going to cause some issues here again. I can straighten that out. And I can drag this out for as far as I want it to go. All right, now I'm going to leave this at kind of a low point. So if I select the platform, I mean is our time for movement. Remember, I had it at 5 seconds for our default. In order for our player to actually be on it, this would need to go much slower. But for this demo, I'm going to go ahead and hit play. What's going to happen is you're going to see that it sort of stays facing that direction. It's facing down out towards those mountains out here the whole time. It doesn't rotate in the direction of movement. It just continues to go straight on like that. Even though it's moving around that curve, it's doing that. Okay, so we're going to fix that. And it's really pretty simple. We're just going to go back to our blueprint. And right here, we already have our spline. And we've already kind of set this all up, right? We've got our lerp in here, the spline length. So all we really need to do is just add another node that allows us to rotate. 2 nodes, actually. We're going to need to add to get the information from our spline. And then we're going to need to apply that information to our platform. So this is our platform. This is our spline. So from here, I'm going to drag out. And I'm going to type in get rotation. And we want get rotation at distance along spline. And this one's going to be left at local because we want the local spline rotation. And we're going to right click on this and we're going to split that struct pin. Because we're only going to want to use the yaw. We don't want to apply it to all 3. We just want to use the Z direction. And then up here, what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of our platform. And we're going to set relative rotation. And we're going to drag this down here. I'm going to kind of clean this up real quick as I move along. Double click there. Give myself a little node to add in. And connect this up. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to split this, split that struct pin. So right click, split that struct pin. And I'm just going to connect up my yaw. Compile and save it. Now, when I hit play, what should happen is that we should see the platform rotate along there. So if I hit play, it looks like it's rotating. No, it did not. Okay, what did I forget? Let's go back in here, see what I forgot to do. Oh, okay. I forgot to connect up the lerp here. So it's just getting it at distance 0 and it's leaving it there and it's not updating it. So we need to connect this in. Compile that, save it. Now if I hit play, it should rotate, should be getting that information, feeding it in, and rotating it, and it is. Doing exactly what we're supposed to do. All right, so let's, real quick, I'm going to escape from there, and we're going to go back over here. Let's talk about how to correctly set this vertical spline up, and also talk about spline points as we're, now that we have 2 different examples set up here. Okay, so I'm going to drag out another platform. Doesn't matter which direction it faces. And what I'm going to do for this one with the spline, I want to move it vertical again. But one of the things that could possibly happen is if we just kind of grab the end and do like we did last time, we could accidentally rotate and direct the end of the spline point so that it rotates all kinds of funny on us. And then what will happen is it will cause our platform to flip around, because once we added in this piece to our blueprint, it would allow our platform to kind of flip around in different directions if we're not careful on the Z-axis, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go vertical, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to select the point. So I'm going to select the base point, the 0 point right here. This is the very first one. If you want to make sure, you can hit this little arrow here and see how it kind of moves our selection points to the previous ones, right? So I'm here at my base point. I'm going to go ahead and on the y-axis, because this is the direction I want it to rotate. I want it to rotate this way. So on the y-axis for this one, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. It's going to give me this weird kind of little S shape right here. Now I'm going to select the next point, and you can either click on it there, or you can use the little tool here. And I want it to go up vertically, and I'm just going to select 100 for right now because that's just an easy point to start with. And then I'm going to change my x-axis, which is drag it forward. I'm going to change that to 0 so that now my point is exactly vertical above my start point. So my second point is exactly vertical against my first point, starting my vertical. All right. Now, I am going to also drag it up higher, okay? And you can see now I'm at like 330 here. One of the things I do want to point out is in this method, what has happened, and this is what could accidentally happen when you grab it and do it the way we did it on this one over here, is it could rotate your point 180 degrees or anything else. It can rotate it in all kinds of different directions depending on how you do this. Since I inputted it this way, it manually rotated it to 180 degrees, so it's opposite of where it should be. I'm going to leave it so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. That way, if you have this happen, you'll recognize it and you can come back and you'll know where to check to see what the problem is. So I'm going to hit play, and you'll see that the platform goes up just like it's supposed to, and then when it gets to the end, it flips around. So now it's 180 degrees from where it's supposed to be, and then when it starts, it flips back around and goes back down. All right, so the way we can fix that is by selecting the point that's having the problem, making sure that our other points are set right at 0. So we're going to make this one 0 also. And I'm going to save it, hit play, and that should have fixed it. All right, that looks good. So let's talk about that same issue here with this platform. So if I select the splines and I make sure that I'm at the very first spline, so right now they're all selected. See how they're all turned yellow? I'm going to go to the very first spline. Okay, so I'm going to select the first spline, which is this one right here. And I'm going to take a look at it, and you can see because I pulled everything out a little bit, it did give me a little bit of a rotation. If that's something that you don't want, you can fix it right here. It's at a negative direction. I'm going to just put that at 0. It was a very minor amount, so it doesn't really affect much. Now I can go to my next spline by hitting this little button right here. And you can see that it's moved over 3.62. And you can see I kind of got this little weird curvy thing happening here. Since that one is still supposed to be 0, I could probably change it to 0 and get that to go straight. But I get this slight little left-hand turn here. I think I can live with that. That's probably going to be okay. So now I'm going to go to the next one. And you can see it rotated 19 degrees as I start to go around this curve. And then it, 73 degrees. And then 86, which, I was really shooting for a 90-degree turn, but that's okay. Once we get everything all set up and you start putting in your assets and you start trying to get things lined up, that's when you start worrying about, kind of how the rotations and everything are so that your platform meets up with things perfectly aligned. So that's got us started. And again, if I hit play, you'll see that it is moving the way it's supposed to. All right, so that's it for this tutorial. Hopefully I didn't lose you. If you had any issues, please put those questions and issues down in the comment section. I will get back to you on those. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe, because we are not done with this platform yet. We are going to continue moving forward. Now that we've got it moving and we've got it so that we can put it in vertical and horizontal directions, and it actually rotates like it's supposed to along the movement line, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in some visual and audio effects. So we're going to change the red screen to green when it starts to move, so you can see how you can change your materials as things happen in your blueprints. And we're also going to add in some sounds that are set up to be the length of the time of movement. And then once we get all that done, we'll make it so that it doesn't automatically play as soon as the game starts. We're going to set it up so that a player has to enter a volume, or a player can interact with it to make the platform move. And we'll set up some different things for that in future tutorials. So again, make sure you subscribe. Thanks again for playing, and I will see you next time.